discussion. And this, I love the book of Mishlei. Okay. Unfortunately, nobody ever taught it to me. Right. I was in yeshiva and seminaries for maybe 12 years. I don't know how many years. A lot of years I was in yeshiva and in university, and no one ever taught me the book of Mishlei. Book of Mishlei, and that's a shame.
How is that?
Well, first of all, you don't really learn Tanach that much in yeshiva. Unfortunately, there's a joke like that where it's how does the yeshiva bocher know that Moshe and Aaron are relatives? Because it says in the Gemara that brothers can't serve as witnesses in a court, and even Moshe and Aaron couldn't serve as witnesses. So from there, they know that Moshe and Aaron are brothers, but they don't read the Torah; they just know it from the Talmud. Anyway, so I guess that wasn't that funny of a joke. Anyway, so for yeshiva students, it is okay. Well, you've heard it before. Oh, over your head. Okay. Okay. So, any case, but they don't learn Tanakh a lot in yeshiva, and in addition, the book of Mishlei is it's a tough book. We're gonna today I think will be rewarding and enjoyable, but it's a little nitpicky because each sentence on its own is a teaching. Each sentence on its own contains great wisdom and wealth of knowledge. So it's hard to get through. It's I don't know. I think so. I love this text. So what I kind of wanted to do with you today is teach you how to learn it, give you some tools to do that. I wanted to take a topic, let's focus on the topic of anger and delve into that, kind of show you how to read the book from a topical perspective, also how to read the book in a freestyle way. So that's what we're going to do with this little exercise now. And then I want to talk about foundations of Jewish ethics that speak to me from the book of Mishlei. Okay, so I'm not saying that I'm presenting all the foundations of Jewish ethics. I'm speaking of ones I'm very passionate about, So each one is I could give a whole, I probably have given a sermon on it or something. So you're going to get and I have them all listed here, so you can go back over it or whatever. But before we start, we have a question that I want to ask. First, how can Mishlei be relevant for us? I think it's very relevant. Some of the topics are a little bit related to that time period, like wisdom versus folly and other types of topics that people don't always talk about today. But if you translate it to our days, it can be very relevant. But the question we want to ask today is, what are the foundations of Jewish ethics? So I guess maybe what could be a helpful exercise getting us into this would be I don't want to spend too much time on the question and answer, because I kind of want to actually jump into the ethics and kind of get working, so we have a few things to do. But what would be a foundation of Jewish ethics when it comes to, I'll just list a few that we mentioned here together, okay? So when it comes to Hashem, what would be something, Jewish ethics be meaning the right way to live? I'm doing this as a sample exercise of what Mishlei looks like and how to learn Mishlei. After this, we're going to do one more sample, which is learning a topic within Mishlei and showing you how that topic is brought forward throughout many different texts. And lastly, we're going to go through some of the foundations that I connect with very deeply from Mishlei and from Judaism in relation to our proper modes of being on those different fronts that we mentioned. Okay? So let's do chapter 21. Which page is this? Let's see. Page
98.
1599.
Yeah.
Okay.
Page 1599, correct?
1598 in the Hebrew.
1598 in the Hebrew. All right, so this is what I want to do. I want to read through this. I thought we could read through it. If I ever want to read through this, if you're able to read through this a little bit on your own for let's say 3 or 4 minutes, scan the chapter and see if there's a verse that speaks to you. Okay, a verse or two that speaks to you. Those at home can probably see this, right? Can you see this, Nadine? So let's go through the actual text themselves. Yeah, I almost said King David. I don't know why I said.
The proof of that particular pasuk is, we have it in, we read on Torah, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, where you have from the Nevi'im, Hashem says,
correct, but then you have to say, how do you
sustain your offerings instead do what is just and right.
Correct. Correct. So I don't want to get too deep into that topic. It's a broader topic, and I think you could also ask the same question: how do we know that the prophets are true? It's like a broader question, but I want to go into like the message of the lessons themselves. Who else? Marsha?
Okay, I like 21.
Okay.
One who pursues righteousness and kindness will find life, righteousness, and honor.
Okay.
That's really
Why
that
do you?
touches me.
Why?
Well, because I think kindness counts so much in the Jewish religion. Kindness towards others and towards yourself. And it brings honor.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody out here in person? Sheila.
I like 23.
23.
That's right.
One who guards his mouth and his tongue guards his soul from trouble.
Ah,
I do that.
one who guards their soul and tongue guards themselves from troubles. That's a good one. Yeah. Kind of self-explanatory. Yeah.
And then one that I thought on the positive side,
Yeah.
and then on the negative side, where's the what I don't know where is it now? Wait, I can't. Oh, here it is. The lover of pleasure will be a
What
man
number?
who lacks. The lover of wine and oil will not grow rich.
Which one is that? Which verse is that?
Too much.
Which verse is that? Oh, verse 17. The lover of pleasure will be a man who lacks. The lover of wine and oil will not grow rich.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That some do that, right?
Perhaps. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at least it mentions, right?
It does.
Wine and oil. And so that was another part of this class. I wanted to show you how to like look deeper into these. I'll do that in a moment. Let's do two more. Okay. Anyone? What were you thinking about, Sherry? What was not standing out to you?
Okay, there were two, and it used the same word.
Okay.
Better to dwell on a corner of a roof.
Which number?
9.
Okay.
Better to dwell on a corner of a roof than to dwell with a contentious wife in a house of friends. And then later, it also says in 19, a woman of contention. So I don't quite.
Yeah.
Maybe I just don't get it.
I guess it's, if you put woman, take out woman, and you put spouse, would that be more
I would
helpful?
just put person.
Person.
I just find it singling out.
Yeah. So yeah, there is a lot of that in Mishlei. There is a lot of that. If you accept the premise that King Solomon wrote the text, he had many wives, many. So perhaps he had some experiences with that. I think if one wants to relate it to our days, or to read it in more of an egalitarian way, you could say spouse, and perhaps it could be read, and you could draw lessons from it or not. Let's do one more on
I
Zoom.
just want to say I draw the lesson that shalom bias. I think he's trying to relate shalom bias. The most important thing is to have peace. One might be better off being alone than going to a place where there's strife.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, Nadine, you're gonna say something? I guess not. Okay, Orid and Ben.
I like number 13.
Okay, 13.
One who shuts his ear to the cry of the pauper, he will too call out and not be answered. And whether he's not answered directly by Hashem, or whether there's a Jewish concept of karma, I definitely just relate to that. I think it's a good message.
Yeah. Okay. You're at
Number 23.
20.
Yeah.
23.
Yeah, that's the one.
One who guards his mouth and his tongue guards his soul from troubles. That was mentioned. It's very powerful. Okay, so maybe not going to relate with all of them. There's a lot of knowledge in here, and it's interesting to go deeper into each one. It just takes time, right? So imagine like going through each one, discussing it, taking time. I think that's why it's not like an easy read. It's not like you read the story of King David. That's fun, or Samson and Delilah. I can get through a whole chapter in a moment. No, this is like each sentence is filled and packed. So that's perhaps why I contributed to its perhaps lack of popularity. So what I want to show you now is I want to do that little exercise there, and now I want to go back and show you just a few things when it comes to Proverbs, like a few tools for you. So here is Sepharia. Sepharia can be very helpful. It's a text online, and those who know how to use Sepharia, that's great. If you don't, this is a great tool. And here I have the table of contents. Let's go to 21. And with each verse, let's do that one. What was that? 13, everyone liked? Where was that? Okay. Anyway, let's do this one. So you have this, he who loves pleasure comes to want. So you tap on it and it gives you all the commentaries on it. Okay, so you have a lot of commentaries. If you want to go deeper into each one, you can find the commentaries in Hebrew and in English. This is a good resource. I want to show you another resource. We have here, this is a nice, I'm very grateful, very happy I found this like website. Here it goes through the book of Mishlay by topic, which is very lovely. So if you want to get all of its statements on these different topics, you can click on this. So this is what I use for my source sheet. Okay, or giving away my source. I did go through all the book of Mishlay for this class, but I didn't. But this was helpful. This is like my cheat sheet, but it can be your cheat sheet. It's fine. So you go through it. You can find statements on each topic. So what I did, I just took the topic of anger, because I think that's like something people think about. And here are the sources it brought. My contribution is that I put them in order based on topic. So I'll share that with you in a moment. So you got the idea. That's a helpful source for learning Mishlay. Here are two sources just in relation to Eshet Chayil. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to go through a little bit of, here's a little bit on the structure of Mishlay, which can be helpful as well. If you look through it, there's different sections in the book of Mishlay, and they begin with a starting word. So like, for instance, Proverbs 22 says the sayings of the wise. Proverbs 24 says these are also sayings of the wise. Proverbs 25 says these are other Proverbs of Solomon. So there's certain introductions. It's a collection of Proverbs of different, it's a collection of different like groups of Proverbs, and they're put together in this text. And Eshet Chayil appears in the end as perhaps it's another section. So that's kind of just to know the structure of it. So let's do a topic of anger. Okay. Actually, you know what let's do this on the topic of anger. Okay. So here's an example of how to read Mishlay by taking a topic, okay, and trying to figure out what Mishlay has to say to us. So there are many ways to work on anger, to overcoming anger. I want to show you what I think is so beautiful about Mishlay is that it attacks a topic from multiple angles, and it really gives you a lot of modes of thinking, a lot of ways of acting in relation to a specific topic. So here's the topic of anger. If we work on anger, so here I took all the sources and put them in order based on how I understand that. So and afterwards we'll get to like our topic that I want to talk about, like the foundations of Jewish ethics. So this is like an exercise I think is important. It says, who is slow to anger is of great understanding, but he who is quick-tempered selects folly. So why to work on anger? First off, someone who's angry, sometimes they won't be able to understand something properly. Sometimes you're in a fight with somebody, you're not able to really hear them because you're just like caught up in your own anger. I think it's saying somebody who's slow to anger is of great understanding. Someone who's quick of anger might have sometimes trouble understanding. It could be in a classroom, it could be wherever. You're upset and angry, it's hard to understand. Another one is you act foolishly. Jerry Springer just passed away, I guess like 2 weeks ago. There's some pretty foolish episodes this week. So a lot of his videos have been coming up like on social media, and so there's like a lot of really foolish things in those. I mean, that's what help make him money, but people get angry. You do foolish things. So another reason to work on anger is because at least you act foolishly.
Yeah.
Rabbi. Yeah.
I'm sure some of it is choreographed, whatever, but if you watch that stuff, somebody's anger and then their anger turns to rage.
Yes.
And they start fighting. And that's really what you want to, because I've studied some of this. That's really what you want to get to the point. So you don't want your anger to turn to rage. Because once it turns to rage,
Yeah.
there's nothing.
So that's here. That's what I think it's saying here. All these are different verses, mind you, from all over Mishlei. Okay, we have 11:23. Desire of the righteous is only good. The hope of the wicked is wrath. Meaning, that's what I think it's. That's what I think it's saying here. What you're saying, Ed. I think it's saying that at a certain point, it becomes your hope. I mean, it becomes your internal mode of thinking, and it can take you over. And that's what we want to stay away from for sure. Now, here's another one. Somebody who's angry, it says the anger of a fool is heavier than the weight of a stone and the burden of sand. Right. So like you can find somebody who when did that happen recently? Recently, like I was talking to a congregant who was in Beth Tefillah maybe like 30 years ago. And something happened in the shul 30 years ago, and they haven't really been engaged since. And sometimes people go through stuff many, many years ago, and they can be holding on to that for years. And so that's the idea of like the anger sometimes can get so deep that it can weigh you down, and you're weighed down under your anger. And so Mishlei is telling us, be careful of it because of that reason as well. So what I'm saying is like, I'm trying to kind of bring you into the world of Mishlei. This topic of thinking about what makes it heavy, you can start thinking in our lives, like, where am I heavy because of my resentments, because of my anger? Where can I let go? Where's it weighing me down? That's what Mishlei is supposed to do for us, I think.
King Solomon is saying that resentment is the world's biggest wasted emotion.
Well, he's saying at least it's heavier than stone and the burden of sand. That's just big. I don't know. I don't know how it ranks it. I'll be honest with you. I don't know where it ranks anger.
It just says for us, it's a wasted emotion in our lives.
Correct.
Because all it does is beat ourselves.
Yeah.
What do they say? Let go, let go.
So that'll be the next topic: how to work on anger. Okay. What I'm trying to show you is that the book has a lot of sides and lots of wealth of knowledge to offer us, especially when you learn in a topical way. Lastly, is a man's folly perverts his way, but his heart is wroth with the Lord. So after a while, that anger towards others can spill over to anger towards Hashem as well. That can impact our spiritual growth. So anger can like really it can lead to internal decay and heaviness and overall foolishness. And so it's something we should stay away from. So it's warning us against that, but it doesn't stop there. It wants to help us as well. It wants to help us work on anger. So how do you work on anger? So one way is to be slow to anger. So this is the general introduction, I would say. Here's two general introductions. One is to rule over your spirit. Okay, that's the first. How do you become slow to anger? It says, and one who rules over his spirit is better than someone who conquers the city. So sometimes you can overcome anger, sometimes by just trying to overcome it. Sometimes you can be angry and say, I'm not going to fall prey to that. I'm going to overcome it. That doesn't always work, okay? Sometimes that doesn't get rid of the anger. Another direction is to overlook what's going on around you, which can be helpful. Now, sometimes you're like looking all around you, something's like really bothering you. So don't look there. Turn around, turn away. And that's not always easy, but that can help sometimes overcome anger. That's kind of like to pass over a transgression. Another one, and that's the idea here, I think, also of concealing the shame, of to conceal it, to overlook it. I think these are kind of similar. Another direction is very helpful. Very helpful. A gentle reply turns away wrath. So this can be in relation to other people, of like removing their wrath from you. Someone's very angry at you and you answer them very gently and kindly. That can remove their wrath. But it can also be in relation to yourself. Speak gently, act softly. That can remove anger. Take deep breaths, that can be helpful when it comes to anger. Another one, it says a gift in secret will appease wrath. I think this can mean on a bribe in the pocket will even appease strong wrath. Not going to talk about that part of the verse, but the part I want to talk about is the first part. Be in a giving mode to other people. Be giving to other people. A gift in secret will appease wrath with other people and your wrath as well. In your mode of giving, it can help you overcome your anger towards other people. You see them in a more positive light.
Listen, right?
Listening to others.
Listening to somebody when they're angry.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, that's your gift, that you're allowing them to vent.
Yeah. So that's for others. I'm saying for ourselves as well. Yeah, that's also true. Helping others vent. This is the idea of going to a desert land. Again, here's another one, is that not just to like to move away from what's going on, but to not engage it in the first place. If you know something is going, if something's going to be to trigger you, it's going to make you angry. Try not to engage in it in the first place. Don't go with a wrathful person. Don't befriend a quick-tempered person. So here's one more. That's one direction. This overall trying to overcome it. But here's another direction. Okay, and this is direction. It's more of a Hasidic approach. And I think this appears perhaps in the text as well. It says, a hot-tempered man incurs punishment, but if you save, you will yet increase. The Hebrew here says geral or gedal. There's two ways of reading it, but the way you could read is an intentional increase in anger incurs punishment. Meaning, this verse could be saying that if you increase your anger, that's bad. But to have anger is a natural thing. You have anger. What are you going to do with the anger? So I think this next verse points us to another way to deal with anger. It says the king's fury is like a lion's roar, but his goodwill is like dew upon the grass. Someone can have anger. What are you doing with that? Either we can overcome it or you can channel it. A king's anger can be like a lion's roar, but if he uses that energy, that passion, that force for good, it can bring great blessing, like dew upon the grass. So I think one hand, Mishlei is saying, if I summarize, Mishlei is saying when it comes to anger, anger can create horrible things for us in our lives, in our hearts, can weigh us down. It can make us upset and angry. It can distract us and make us act foolishly. How do you deal with it? There are modes of dealing with it. Stay away from it, overcome it, speak gently, take breaths. That's ways to like deal with it face on, face to face. But also it's guiding us a different direction. It's saying, hey, you might have that anger. Channel your passion, channel your anger. You're not feeling that. Why not?
I think as far as anger goes, you need to control yourself. The king gets angry, subjects die.
So I'll be offer another perspective. Let's say somebody is passionate and they're upset about an injustice. And they use that frustration, that passion to push them to making change, like Martin Luther King or any other leader.
You gotta control your emotions.
So I'm not saying that it should be unleashed. I'm saying it should be channeled. If you have a certain emotion that's very strong, you're upset about something true, and you fight for it. Like I remember when I was in yeshiva, when I first came to yeshiva in Israel, I was very surprised because I used to think people were like screaming at each other. I thought it was like not nice, and sometimes it actually isn't nice. But like because I was used to being in libraries, like like librarian would come over, and so when everyone was screaming, but they were screaming because they were passionate about trying to get to the depth of something. Like
there's a difference between passion and anger.
So correct. Well, so that's what I'm saying. That's what I want to share like a moment when it comes to fun foundations of Jewish ethics. I think that each emotion or each trait can be either positive or negative when it's channeled in a certain way. If it's channeled to a negative place, it can manifest as bad anger. If that energy, that passion is channeled to a positive place, it can be positive. It could be holy. Maybe you don't like the word anger, but maybe you're angry with what I'm saying. I don't know. Oh no. Okay.
How about like threat is versus assertive? To be
Correct.
angry and-
I agree with you. Like sometimes you get caught up in the semantic. I don't get caught up in semantics because like I think that there's a certain like anger that can be channeled toward a positive way. I don't know what word will work with you, but I think you would agree with me. You might use a different word though.
I think when you're angry, you lose control of your emotions. You can't think clearly, and you wind up saying or doing something you will never regret.
I think anger is an emotion. You can get angry, but I think you can have the discipline, you can have that strength to just not act upon it. It's like when children do something really stupid. And you get angry, but you don't have to do anything about it, but you can have a conversation the next day.
So that would be the first part here, which would be overcoming it. This would be a different direction with channeling it. Like, let's say you take the frustration and you channel it to a positive direction. I'm not saying this always works. I'm just saying, like, let's say you see something wrong and that stirs something inside you, and then you channel that to make it better.
It's totally anger.
Okay. So these are different directions in here. So that's kind of like in terms of anger. Now, I want to take a step back. With the final 10 minutes, I want to go over my favorite guidance, my favorite directions for Jewish life on different fronts in relation to ourselves, in relation to Hashem, in relation to Torah. Some things that I'm passionate about, things that I've picked up over all the years that I think are very valuable and helpful. Okay, this exercise that we did, I wanted to show you, number one, how to read the book. Number two, I wanted to show you how to take a topic and how to go through Mishlay and see that topic from different directions. I think that could be valuable. Here are just like some big, I think, big ideas of foundations of Jewish ethics. So I'm going to go through them out of order because I'm going to go through ones that like I just really want to share with you and make sure I share them with you. So here's the first one. And again, this is my interpretation of it, and some I'm taking out of its context. I'm explaining how I understand it. Okay. So the first one is it's not all or nothing when it comes to Torah. I'm very passionate about this. Okay. As much Torah as you get, as much halacha as you follow, it's the better, in my opinion. But I do not think that if you don't do all of it, you're doing nothing. Each part is valuable. Each step is good. Each step helps you grow and expand your consciousness and become a better person. So I think that this verse, when it talks of the Torah as a tree of life, you know this. This is from Mishlei. So a lot of the verses from Mishlei appear in our Siddur. This is one of them. It's also from Mishlei. There are many verses in our Tanach from Mishlei. So how am I connecting this message to this text? I think this language of sin, and I talked about this once in our class. I think seeing the Torah as a tree of life is a very valuable model, because the tree of life, there are many aspects of the tree, and it says you have to grab onto the tree. Now, some people are going to grab onto the fruits. Other people will grab onto the leaves. Other people will grab onto the branches or the roots. The Torah is a tree of life, and we have to grab onto it however we can. And each way we grab onto it, we're rewarded with life. So maybe you should, ideally, if you can grab onto the tree and the branches and have it all, that's great. But each component brings us life. And I think that's the message of like how Torah can be valuable in terms of all of its aspects. They all bring us life. So I think that's a valuable message of Torah is not all or nothing. Let's do another one that I find very valuable. This is one we've been talking about all year long, back and forth, okay? And I want to share, I think this is very powerful. Each trait can be used for good and bad, for bad and good. So death and life are in the power of the tongue. Those who love it will eat its fruit. So death and life are in the power of the tongue. We have one tongue. It can speak good, it can speak bad. That is a principle in Jewish ethics, okay, when it comes to other people. It's a very valuable principle. Nothing's like the way I was taught it. Traits aren't black and white. There's no trait that's fully bad. Maybe you disagree with this, but this is a little bit different than how I was taught when I grew up in some Western ethic from like in high school, as how I was taught it. It's not like there's a trait that's bad or good. It's about context. So the tongue could be good or could be bad. Similarly, is sad being good? Well, sad on Purim is not good. Sad on Tisha B'Av is good. Take a trait, laziness. Is laziness good or bad? Laziness seems to be bad in the book of Mishlay, but laziness sometimes is good. When would it be good? Give me an example. When you're tired. Shabbos afternoon to give yourself rest. Or sometimes when it comes, if you're overworked, to give yourself time. I say every trait, I want to argue, you disagree, but anger can be channeled to good or to bad. There's just ritcha deraita. There's like anger, a passion for Torah that sometimes the sages have. That could be a valuable thing. Kindness. Kindness, is it always good? Sorry, it's not. Being kind to your enemies is not a good thing. Sometimes people get that mixed up, right? So every trait in Judaism, it's not a black or white thing. It can be used for good or you can be used for bad. And so it's not like we have, like every shortcoming can also be an attribute. So it's not like a black and white thing where you create a list. It's basically, how am I channeling this trait to good or to bad? And it can be for all of our different traits. If you think of another one, being happy. Being happy is great, but if you're overly happy at a serious work meeting, it can be annoying and frustrating and hold things back. So yeah.
Could be dishonest.
So you want me to be honest with you about that, or no? So sometimes being dishonest. So what do you think?
Every bride is beautiful.
I mean, so yeah, sometimes I guess it's sometimes it might be valuable to be dishonest in the sense of I don't know, like sometimes like with anger. So we said you overcome anger by overlooking what's going on. Sometimes that can be helpful. But sometimes being too honest with yourself, you see everything, or you're with your spouse or with your friend, and you see the truth, for what it is. Sometimes you have to push aside the truth for a moment in order to be able to deal with them in a positive way. Maybe you're in a classroom and kids are doing something wrong and you know it's wrong. Well, overlook it for that moment, right? So I'm saying this honesty can be valuable as well in terms of you applying that in your life. I'm not saying that you should do it all the time. I'm just saying it has its place. Yeah, I think that's yeah.
No, I'm just gonna say, I mean, we even have examples of if you. It is sometimes justified to be dishonest with a dishonest person.
Yeah.
When David Amelech was fleeing from the Philistines, he wasn't honest, he feigned that he was insane and acted he wasn't mad, he was.
Yeah.
But he was doing it to.
Correct. I mean, I have a class on that as well. Like, when is it okay in Judaism to be dishonest? There are some cases, right? There's like 5 cases where it's okay to do that, but that's for like another class. Okay.
Next year.
Maybe next year. Yeah. I want to do at least one from each category. So I want to do self now. And this is, I'm going to go back to what Lynn said. We're going to go 805, if that's okay. Be real. Anybody know there's like a new social media app called Be Real? Yeah. It's like what?
I know there's a radio host who likes to say,
So-
keeping it real.
So there's this new social media app which alerts you when to post a picture, and you're supposed to post it in real time. So a lot of kids are on that app where it's like, it tells you post your picture now, and so you're supposed to post a picture of what's going on in that moment. Now the problem is a lot of the kids, like, you can also extend the time when you post it, so they wait till like everything's perfect, and then they'll post it. So it's not being real anymore. Anyway, my niece tried to get me on that app for a while, and I was like, well, this isn't real. I don't want to post right now. It's not real. So I stopped posting. Anyway, but very important. Okay. I love these 2 verses. And someone mentioned this. Ellen mentioned this verse: to do what is right and just is more desired by the Lord than sacrifice. Meaning, sometimes in our culture, we get caught up in like the externals of like how to present something or making something beautiful, or, or everything has to be, the external wrapping has to be perfect, when really, I think the Torah wants that as well, but it wants us to have what's inside to be real, to be aligned with truth and something that's real. Another example is better a meal of vegetables where there is love than a fattened ox where there is hate. You can have a house full of riches. You can have all the riches. You can have all these friends who are following you, but if there's not real friendship, there's not real love, then you've lost. I mean, like, social media is like, I personally have like up to 5,000 friends on Facebook. In real life, I think I have 3 friends. Okay. And I'm one of them. And Hashem is one. No, but like my wife is one. But what I'm saying is, like, I don't mistake those friends for real friends. Facebook has defined that as friends. You have to know what's real in life. You have to know what's real for yourself in your life and be in line with what's real, and try to step beyond the externalities. I think that Mishlei is telling us that in these 2 verses, like, know what's real, what's true, and be in line with that. Now, I want to do one more in relation to ourselves and Hashem. You can kind of go back over some of this. This is the one that I try to live by: knowing Hashem in all of our ways. I love this text. This is what kind of guides me throughout my life. What does this verse mean? We have to, Hashem has guidance for us in all that we're doing. We have to try to find Hashem in what we're doing. So if you're speaking to somebody, when you're with them, try to see Hashem speaking to you. Also try to see what Hashem wants you to do in that moment. I guess, like, trying to find Hashem in the moment. Life, this is based on Rav Kook's saying, life presents us with many circumstances and experiences. And Rav Kook says in his text, like, try to find Hashem in what you're doing. So like, if you're praying, Rav Kook says that's where Hashem is, and try to find Hashem there at that moment. Or when you're learning, try to find Hashem in your learning. When you're helping someone, try to find Hashem when you're helping them. Try to be the best person you could be in that moment. Try to find Hashem in that moment. Similarly, if you're at work and you're focused on your work, try to find Hashem in that moment. Try to be the best person. Try to focus in that moment and find Hashem in that moment. This idea of trying to find Hashem in all your ways goes beyond specific mitzvot, beyond specific learning. It goes to all areas of life. Try to be what Hashem wants you to be in all areas, and that should really guide us in all of our areas. So I think that's like a general guidance in life. Try to, like, what would Hashem do? That type of thing. Like, now I'm giving the Jewish version of that. So that's like a little bit in terms of like guidance on different fronts. There's a lot more here. Let me just see if there's one more I could share with you, and then we'll get going. I'm not going to do that as heavy. All right, I'm gonna leave it. Okay, here, I gotta talk about this for a second. 1 second, okay? We're good. This is the central idea in relation to ourselves. We mentioned self-respect and self-care. This verse says the life breath of man, or the neshama of the man, is the candle of God. So this is why we light, one of the reasons why we light a yahrzeit candle in the house of mourning. From this verse, from Mishlei, the candle of God is the soul of man. And you'll see that verse quoted in relation to the yahrzeit candle. I think this idea of seeing ourselves as having divinity in us is transformative. It means that we have to treat ourselves with dignity. We have to respect ourselves. We have to take care of ourselves and see others as well in that way, as not just people who are annoying you or bothering you on the road, rather people who have divinity in them. And if you see them in that manner, that could be a foundation for ethical behavior in relation between yourselves and them. So to summarize, there's a lot more here, but summarize, there are different, I think there are different, to summarize overall, Mishlei is a book of ethics. It's guidance for us. There are 31 chapters of dense chapters, as you saw with chapter 21, lots of directives, lots of knowledge. You can go through this maybe on a Shabbos afternoon, we'll take one chapter and see what speaks to you, see what doesn't speak to you. We saw that you can learn in a topical way. I gave you some guidance for that in terms of anger. And in addition, there are many foundations for Jewish ethics in the text. I like to approach it from those 4 different avenues and how we relate to Torah, I relate to Hashem, I relate to ourselves, I relate to other people. And the directions that I highlighted a few for you, but there are many more to think about. And a lot of them align with what we mentioned in the very beginning of our class. So that's a little introduction to the book of Mishlei. This book is very deep and there's a lot more to learn, but we got a little bit of a taste for it. So